As parents, we take care of our children. That's our job. This is what we do. But when we have a child who is addicted, and that child, let's just say they're an adult, but we as parents get stuck in parenting, even when our children are not children anymore. They'll always be our babies, but they're adults, right? We're not treating them like adults. And the biggest struggle with parents is that shift from feeling like they need to do what they need to do for their kid, that they shouldn't let them suffer, because that would be a bad thing, that would make them a bad parent, to letting the child be an adult and make their own decisions and then reap the consequences of those decisions.
Welcome back to the You Need a Counselor podcast. This is a show presented by Heart and Solutions Counseling Agency. We release new episodes every Sunday at 5 p.m. Central and encourage you to batch up that laundry, put away the dishes, plan for the week ahead, or do any other task that might seem daunting while you give our show a listen. You might just be encouraged to call your therapist, connect with this week's guest, or seek out those services you've been considering for a while but haven't made the commitment to yet. If you are in the state of Iowa and are in need of mental or behavioral health counseling, give us a call at 1-800-531-4236. Enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome back to the You Need a Counselor podcast. My name is Dr. Julie Johnson. I'm the president and founder here at Heart and Solutions Mental Health Counseling and Behavioral Health Counseling in Iowa.
And I'm Krista Hunt. I am our vice president in charge of the behavioral health department. And this is our podcast, You Need a Counselor. So we are designed for people curious about counseling, but have barriers keeping them from experiencing the benefits of counseling. Our mission is to share stories about counseling, good, bad, and indifferent, and spread the message that everyone can benefit from mental health and behavioral health counseling services.
Our guest today is Dr. Janelle Martin. Dr. Martin is a licensed counselor specializing in microcurrent neurofeedback. Dr. Martin is a certified ISS provider and is the founder of the Mind Connection in Houston, Texas. Janelle's also the author of Losing Her, Finding Us, which is a memoir about how she was supporting her daughter through her daughter's battle with addiction and also subsequent recovery. So welcome, Janelle. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This is going to be a fun conversation.
We are so excited to have you here. So tell us a little bit about what is a certified ISS microcurrent neurofeedback provider?
Well, I call ourselves or myself a brain healer. So it helps the brain to rebalance and reorganize itself so that it's functioning better, which is also the goal is to have it function optimally. So we can use it for peak performance as well. But when your brain is healthy and functioning well, then a lot of the mental and emotional and even physical conditions that we hear and see a lot of will be alleviated. So it's really effective for so many things because the brain is in charge of so many things. But probably our biggest conditions that we see the most often would be attention deficit, anxiety, depression. And then also headaches and migraines are more common, and insomnia. I didn't know before I did this job that so many people don't sleep. I've always been a good sleeper. I now feel extra blessed because I haven't struggled with that because so many people don't sleep well. And of course, when we're tired, fatigued, exhausted, we don't think clearly. We have brain fog and all of that. So sleep is really important. So our system helps with all of those things and so many more. And I recommend it to everyone.
And what is the process like? So I know you keep saying like your system. So what is that? And what do people expect when they come there to get that done?
Yeah, I know. I don't know what they expect. I think that it's a little scary when you think about somebody doing something with your brain, but it's actually, it's kind of like a spa treatment for your brain. You don't have to do anything during the session. There's relatively short, anywhere from 45 seconds to about 10 minutes. It is simply, my system is a laptop, so it's normal. And then it has a little black box with electrodes hooked to it. And the electrodes are like little tiny waffles. They're really tiny, and we use 5 at a time. So there's no like nothing that goes on your head, and like it's not scary. And we use 5 electrodes, 2 that read your brain waves, and then 2 that talk back to your brain, and 1 that just is a ground in the back of your neck. So we will move the electrodes around the head as we determine is necessary, but basically we treat the whole brain. And the microcurrent is just that, it's a microcurrent, so it's super tiny. It's millions of times less energy than your cell phone, so you cannot perceive it. You don't feel anything. But most of our clients do feel different after the very first session. So it is extremely effective. It is noticeably effective. And it does take a series of sessions as well to reach sustainability. So those changes that happen when your brain is rebalanced and those stuck pathways are open and it's functioning well, it still remembers the habit of not functioning well that it's been stuck in. So those changes are temporary at first. They will last anywhere from a few hours to a few days. And then it will revert back to the way the brain is used to functioning. So we do a series of sessions to continue opening that brain up and rebalancing it until it doesn't wear off anymore. It stays functioning well. And so, and the average number of sessions can be different. It just depends on, the person's age and how long they've been suffering with all the conditions that they have. There's a whole lot of things that go into it, but the average is 15 to 20. With children, we see effects take root a lot faster and sustain very much more quickly than somebody, let's say, 60 years old and has had depression for 40 years and been on antidepressant after antidepressant and all of those things. So she's going to take a little longer, but kids are super resilient. Their brains are still forming, and still growing. And so they respond very easily, much more easily. Typically, it's not guaranteed, but typically. So a child may need 8 to 10 sessions instead of, the 15 to 20. And then some people need more because they just really have been stuck for a really long time. So it's a little bit arbitrary in that respect, but it's extremely effective and completely painless and relaxing and pleasant for the client too.
Oh, so these are physical connections that are now happening during the treatment. So it's changing physically things
Yes.
in our brain. Wow. So how does that translate? The insomnia piece is extremely interesting to me. So it's not something I would have necessarily thought that these treatments would go with. So how does that impact our sleep?
Our system, how a treatment would impact sleep is it helps the brain typically to calm. So it has an overall calming effect on the brain. And when you're calm, you can relieve those racing thoughts and even think clearer. I call it, it's almost like a clean energy feeling. And that may not make sense if you haven't felt it, but you're very clear-headed, but you don't necessarily feel tired, but you're able to sleep better. So for people who have insomnia or just trouble either getting to sleep or staying asleep, this system can help both of those things. And we typically can help people get off medications, which is a lot of people that come to us are tired of taking medications every day and they know what the side effects are doing to them. And so we take a very holistic approach with our brain software. It works and it helps people to be able to function without those medications and function usually better. So yeah.
So interesting. How did you learn about it and get interested in doing it? Because I've never heard of this before.
Oh, I had never known that you could heal a brain. I just had never heard of that. And I have not been a counselor very long. So I haven't been in this business. I've been doing this 6 years. So before that, I did not know that there was any such thing. Now early in my life, I wanted to be a psychiatrist, and I'm older than you. So back then, a psychiatrist did counseling. Now they're more of a prescriber. So it has definitely shifted over the years. So I'm really thankful I didn't follow through with that. But I did go pre-med. So that was my first degree. And then my life took a lot of twists and turns since then. But I ended up going to a conference probably about 7 or 8 years ago. Um, and I saw a presentation about traditional neurofeedback, which has been around since the 60s. So the healing the brain and treating the brain isn't new, but it was new to me. I'd never heard of such a thing. And I became so incredibly fascinated with what they were talking about, that I decided I wanted to do neurofeedback. And that moment, I came home from that conference and I told my husband I knew what um, my next career was going to be. And he said, "What?" And I said, "I'm going to be a brain healer." And he looked at me like I had three heads, because I had already gone back and gotten an accounting degree in between, and I've done a lot of things, but brain healing had never been on the radar until that moment. And I just knew that's what I wanted to do. I just thought it was the best thing ever. And so I started looking into training for it. And with my background, I qualified to do it. But at the time that I was about to like really get serious about it, that was when my daughter ended up in rehab for her drug addiction. So the bottom sort of fell out of my life at that point, and I forgot all about it. Literally, it was all about saving the life of my child and not about brain healing anymore. But fast forward about a year and a half, my daughter was sober for the second time, and we had gone and talked at a community meeting locally, and it was about drug addiction and how it was affecting the community. So we told a little bit about our story, and there happened to be a guy there who didn't live close to where this meeting was, and he didn't work close to where this meeting was. I don't honestly know how or why he was there, except when he came up to me after the meeting, he told me he had started a nonprofit to help addicts in recovery, stay in recovery, and he had found this amazing new brain healing technology that was going to help these people stay sober by helping them with their anxiety and depression and all the things. And I heard brain healing again, and I was like, "Tell me more. How do I do this? I want to do this." And he didn't really believe me. He didn't think I was serious at the time, but I ended up badgering him enough. He hired me and had me trained, and that's how I started, was getting to do the brain healing that I said I was going to do a couple of years before that. So it actually came true. I think it was probably God breathed or something. I can't explain why that came back around when it did, or how he was even present in that meeting. It just doesn't really make sense, but I've been doing it ever since. And I worked for him for a year, and then I went out on my own, and here I am. And I quickly realized that as amazing as the system is, it doesn't erase somebody's trauma or experiences that are really hard that need to be processed. And so I wasn't licensed yet. I did become a licensed chemical dependency counselor, but that only, covered the chemical dependency part. And I tried to find counselors who were willing to work with me and that I could refer to, because there were several clients that I saw that didn't need extra help, but there were a lot that I saw that did, and I needed to be able to provide that for them. But I couldn't find any counselors that wanted to work with me. I think the system was more threatening to them than it should have been. And so I threw my hands up in the air after a couple of years and said, I guess I have to go back and get my master's degree and just be a counselor myself, because I can't get anyone to partner with me. And so here I am. I never wanted to be a counselor. I just wanted to do brain healing, but here I am. But it does work hand in hand for a lot of people. And then for others, we just do the brain healing. So.
So as somebody is doing the brain healing system and coming in for those sessions, then they're also doing counseling with you at the same time.
Sometimes. Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes. And it's nice too for me, because if they want counseling as well, we can do them both in the same session. So it's convenient, and then I can offer a lower price too than paying separately for each service.
How does the counseling that you do, if somebody is going through the system for the brain healing, how does that counseling integrate that brain healing process into the direct counseling service that you're doing?
To me, it is the integral part of even the counseling session, because as somebody's brain is functioning better, the conversations are deeper and the processing is a lot faster than if they weren't doing the brain healing. So since it's rebalancing things, it's helping open up stuck pathways and helping those issues and those things come to the surface much quicker, because somebody might not know why they feel the way they feel, or they might, and then we also are certified in brain spotting for trauma. So I've been trained in EMDR too, and I love EMDR, but brain spotting is a little more free flowing and a little less rigid of a process, and I enjoy it better. Plus, my daughter experienced that when she was um, in her recovery, early in her recovery, and that really helped with her trauma. So we kind of are partial to it. So we do use brain spotting if somebody has traumatic experiences that we need to process, and that goes right along with our brain healing too. It just all works very synergistically together.
Well, and I know you mentioned your daughter a few times, so I'm kind of curious about her story and what led you to writing your book, Losing Her, Finding Us. And I know she's now in recovery or 6 years sober, and works with you now. Can you kind of talk about like how you found out she was struggling with addiction and what led to her now getting sober and you publishing that book?
Yeah, so that experience was life-changing for me. I mean, everything in my life changed through that experience. So, how I found out she was using drugs was a friend of hers who really wasn't, she's really not a friend, I guess, and somebody we've known for a really long time, but they're the same age, same grade. They do know each other and did know each other, but they didn't hang out. She bravely sent me a message through Facebook that she was concerned about my daughter's drug use, that it had been ramping up. And not only was she concerned about it and telling me that, she sent me a photo that my daughter had posted on social media of her using drugs. So I couldn't deny or dismiss what she was saying. I couldn't attribute it to anything other than this was a concerned person and clearly cared about us. Um, I'm forever grateful to her, because without that, I don't know how long it would have taken me to figure it out. Because when you're a child, even when you know your child is struggling, I don't think that most parents immediately first thought is drugs. It wasn't for me, because that wasn't part of our lives. That's not how we lived, and so I don't think it would have occurred to me for a much longer period of time. So being clued in like that, I mean, she really hit me in the face with it. um, I did what I knew, which was nothing, how to fix it, put her in counseling and buy her a dog, and, basically beg her to stop and I'll do whatever you want kind of thing, which it didn't work at all. And things got worse. So it took a while, but we ended up, there's a lot of series of events that happened to get her into treatment. And that's all detailed in the book. But recovery for her saved her life. But I would say I dove into recovery as well as the parent of a child in recovery, so that I could understand what she was learning and I could understand how to talk with her and how to rebuild our relationship. And that was life changing for me in a completely different way. I didn't have a substance use problem, but everybody has things about them that they can take a look at and take responsibility for and accountability for. And relationship rebuilding takes vulnerability and intentionality and honesty. And without recovery, I don't know where we would be, honestly, but I can tell you my life, everything in my life changed after that. That's when I got to the brain healing part and the counseling part and opening my own business and doing everything that I do. Like, it just all changed. I have a completely different um, sort of lease on life, I guess. I started my life over, and also became best friends with my daughter and healed all those parts of us that were broken. And her coming to work with me 3 years ago was never something I saw happening ever. It was such a shock when she asked me, but it's been one of the most precious things that I think has ever happened in my life is to be co-working with her and watching her, the way she heals people and the way she is so loved by her clients and good at what she does. And I'm so proud of her. And she does that without me. I trained her, but she sees her own clients and does her own thing. And getting to watch that just firsthand is so cool as a parent. And then knowing what we went through and here we are now, it's really a miracle. And so writing the book was something that I really wanted to do about 5 years ago. And she had the same idea, but because there was a book that I wanted to read when I needed information, and I couldn't find it. And it was the book from both the parent's perspective and the person addicted. I wanted both in one book. And you don't find that. You find the book written by the parent, and it's all great. But my questions were, okay, well, what was going on with the kid? And then if the addict in recovery is writing the book, it's a beautiful story, usually ugly and beautiful because they're in recovery. But I wanted to know where the heck was the parent? What was the parent doing? That was the book I wanted to write. It was from both perspectives. And she wanted to write it too. Neither of us consider ourselves writers. So, but I did start writing. And I had written about half of the book and just realized I didn't know what to do with it once it was written. I didn't know how to publish a book. What was going to happen to it. So I really just kind of shelved it. And then, fast forward a few years, and I had an opportunity with Hope Books to finish my book. And I kind of jumped in without thinking too much about it. I really wanted to complete what I started, and they were willing to publish it. So I finished my part of the book, and I went to Reagan and asked her about her part. She said, "Mom, I'm not a writer. I don't have time." She's currently in college and she's working on a degree, and she said, "My time is so limited." I said, "Okay, well, how about if I'll read you my chapters that I've written, and I will interview you, and I'll record it, and I will transcribe everything you say for each chapter." And so that's what we did. So her part is absolutely her words transcribed from those interviews. So every chapter has what was going on with me and the timeline of everything, and then she gives her part of what was happening with her. And I think that's what makes that book so powerful for people, is to get that complete view, because we didn't have the same view of what was going on. And you see that pretty clearly throughout the book. I think it aligns toward the end, but in the beginning and in the really ugly stuff, we were on two different planets. And I think that's pretty powerful to see.
Wow. And I love the example that you're also setting, because your daughter, you were trying to look for help and support for your daughter, but you also were open and willing to accepting that help and support for yourself.
Yes.
And I think for so many parents, it can be very tempting to kind of tunnel vision in on it whenever our child is struggling with anything, right? To say, well, they are struggling. And the truth is that no child grows up in a vacuum. We're all a part of that process, and we're all a part of that system that is the family. And so I love that you are living that example of, okay, my child is struggling with this. That means that I'm struggling with this. I'm not struggling with her. I'm struggling with the same system, right? The same situation. And it's just coming out in different ways for between
Mhm.
different family members. And so I love that you said, okay, I'm also going to go through this recovery process, because so many people don't go through that process until it's a crisis, until there is some sort of, it comes to a head in some way. But you were willing to say, no, I'm also a person involved here. And so I'm also willing to go through. What were some of the things that, as you went through that process, were surprising to you, as somebody who didn't have a substance use disorder or substance abuse disorder? What were some of the things that were surprising that you learned about yourself?
I learned a lot about myself, but I also learned about what recovery really is. And recovery is for everyone. It isn't just for the person suffering with a substance use disorder. It, I wish the 12 steps were taught in school from a young age. There's so much in them. And I know people struggle sometimes with the spiritual aspect of the 12 steps, but we are spiritual beings. And there is some of that that I think is worth exploring if you can open your mind to it. I had been raised in church my whole life, so that wasn't a problem for me. And I never strayed from my faith, even during all of the hardships that we endured. I grew closer in my faith, so that was how I chose to deal with it. But the 12-step programs are successful for a reason. And I mean, it's a way of life. It's a way of always looking at yourself and taking accountability for your actions and your words and the things that you choose to do, and then making amends to those people that you have hurt or you have wronged in some way. We're not perfect. As much as I want to do the right thing all the time and really try to do that, I hurt people. I'm not perfect. And I need to have a system in place where I can recognize that and then atone for it so that it doesn't go on and on and on and on and on and become a problem, you know, that just it sort of snowballs at that point. So I was shocked to learn that the 12 steps was really a way of life and not just something that people that have addiction problems should be doing. It just shocked me, and I love it. I loved it. I've sponsored people, other parents since then, through the 12 steps and helped them see the beauty in it and the just the beautiful simplicity of living, being self-aware, and then giving back to people who need the same gifts that the program offers. And so to me, it'll be a part of my life forever. I work with parents every Wednesday night. I do parents of addicted loved ones meetings here for free. I will always try to give back to other people because I survived something horrific with my child, and I didn't do it alone. I couldn't do it alone. And I don't think anyone should ever have to be alone in it. And so that's why I do what I do. And it's life changing.
Absolutely. Yeah, we all have the thing or multiple things that we go to for comfort and that we go to try to resolve the dissonance between
Right.
our expectation of ourselves and the world and the actual reality of the world, and the fact that we aren't in control of literally anything, and that the dissonance and the challenges come when we think that we are, or we think that we should be. The and so it doesn't matter what that thing is. When people talk about 12 steps or they think about 12 step, usually they think about alcohol addiction or they think about substance dependency, but gosh, it's anything, right? It's working, it's spending money, it's not spending money, it's exercise, it's everything, it's whatever the thing is or the things are that we do to try to kind of cope with that dissonance in our lives. And it allows us to have that way to cope with that dissonance without having to rely on something external. And so I agree with you. I love that you're spreading that message with your book and with your speaking, that that 12 step is for everybody. And the religious component, definitely that was a challenge for me for sure. But you used the word spiritual. It's spiritual program. We are spiritual beings, and that is a totally different thing from religion. There's a lot of crossover, but within the program, it's not religion. It is the spiritual world and the spiritual life. And so I love that you are sharing that, because so many people think, well, my child or my partner or my sister is going through this program and that's for her because she's got an addiction, but really it's for all of us. We all benefit from that. I think that's so beautiful. And I love too, because I think that sometimes 12 step gets some bad press in terms of, well, it's not, it's addressing that part of it, but it's not necessarily addressing like some of the physical sides of things, right? The chemical side of things and the hormonal sides of things that come with substance dependency. And so I love that what you're doing is you're bringing all of those pieces together. You're going, no, we're physically making adjustments to the brain. We're adjusting that physical part of things. So we're looking at the spiritual, we're looking at the relational, we're looking at the physical piece as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I love that also that you're finding that other parents are open to going through that process as well. And there is such uh, a strength in having other people in your life, not just the people that you meet at 12 step, right? But other people in your life going through that same process and learning it because you learn to speak the same language. There's a way to communicate that not everybody is going to understand, but when the person that, is that close to you, understands that language, you can communicate in that way with them and they understand those terms and what you're talking about. It makes a huge difference in our ability to do that. So I love that you jumped in and said, "Yeah, I'm going to learn this too."
Me too. I'm so glad.
Yes. So when you're doing the support group, what are some of the challenges that you see some parents facing when it comes to that idea of jumping in and going through this process as well, side by side with our children?
The biggest thing is fear. I mean, the relationship with parent and child is a lot different than, a spouse or even a brother or friend. Because as parents, we take care of our children. That's our job. This is what we do. But when we have a child who is addicted, and that child, let's just say they're an adult, but we as parents get stuck in parenting, even when our children are not children anymore. They'll always be our babies, but they're adults, right? We're not treating them like adults. And the biggest struggle with parents is that shift from feeling like they need to do what they need to do for their kid, that they shouldn't let them suffer, because that would be a bad thing, that would make them a bad parent, to letting the child be an adult and make their own decisions and then reap the consequences of those decisions. When they come to us in our parent meetings, it's a slow process. We don't throw everything at them at once because that would just be way overwhelming. But them listening, being able to listen to other parents who have done things, made changes, shifted the way they think about their own person in recovery now, or even if they're not in recovery, just hearing little bits and pieces from everyone's story starts to help that parent change the way they view the things that they do and maybe think about them a little bit more before they do it. And then over time, and we've just seen some amazing transformations with parents from the way they come in, just like me. I was terrified. I didn't know anything. I was doing not the right things and some of the right things. I didn't know what was right. You come in and your brain is just full of gunk and you need somebody to pull that string and start to make sense of it all. And that's just what we do. We don't like force anyone to do anything that they don't want to do, but the more they come and the more they hear and the more they share, we just see the light bulb goes on at some point, and it's the best thing. And then we watch their lives change, just like ours did. And I think the hurdle is just getting them in the door. Just go and sit and listen, and then go again. Keep going. And I promise you, if it's the right group for you, you're going to see change and you're going to be happier.
I love that. I think of all the mirrors that we look into to try to see ourselves, our children are one of the most tempting. We look at our physical appearance, we look at our jobs, we look at all of these things outside of ourselves to try to like go, okay, if that's a mirror, what do I see about myself, right? Based on my job title, based on my family. And our children are, I think, I was trying to think, is there anything more tempting, right, to look at as a reflection of ourselves? And for me, there isn't. That is my most tempting mirror, is my child. She looks exactly like me, right? We feel that sense of responsibility, especially when they're young. And we think, and we're trained to think as parents, that it is our responsibility to protect them, keep them safe, help them set boundaries, but it's not our responsibility to make all of their decisions for them, right? And their outcomes of their own decisions that they have the autonomy to make at those age appropriate times are not our decisions to make. And when we see our children as a reflection of ourselves, and then they make a decision or they have an outcome that we don't want for ourselves, right? We don't want for them. It's that mirror of, gosh, what does this say about me as a person? What is this situation reflecting about how I was as a parent? And all of these things, and we make it about ourselves so frequently, and that causes so many challenges between parents and children, especially adolescents. And so the idea of being able to hear other parent voices saying, my child's decisions are not a reflection of me. I care about my child's decisions and outcomes, not because it's a reflection of me and how it makes me look and how it makes me feel about how I look, but really because I care about my child and their well-being, right? And that is such a different way of looking at it. And when we say that to somebody, or when somebody says that to me, my daughter's 9. So when somebody says something like that to me, right, my brain is like, well, yeah, but, right? It's that, yeah, but
Uh-huh.
it's my responsibility, right? I have to do these things. What if I don't? Um, and at the same time, when we hear other parents giving examples, though, right, of that, hey, my child did this and I'm feeling this way. Oh, but actually, I'm feeling that way about myself as mom, right? Or myself as dad or as grandma. I'm having feelings about myself versus I'm having feelings about another person that I care about.
Yeah.
It's amazing to be able to have those real life examples and hearing other parents say it, because when we can hear that, oh, yeah, that's a completely different way of looking at my child than I've maybe ever had. It's what a great support and what a great thing that you're doing there. I think
Yeah.
that's
I
important.
think it's so much more effective than trying to tell someone you should do this or you should do that or you shouldn't do this or whatever. If they can hear examples from real life stories, it does resonate deeper, and it really helps them to question their own motivations and what they maybe feel like they should or shouldn't do, or maybe what they can. I don't like to say do only do what you can live with, because I don't believe that that's accurate, you know. But that some people will say that too. But just to be able to question, take a minute and really think about what you're doing and what your motivation is. It helps to hear those stories of parents who have gone before you and done the hard things, things that maybe you wouldn't have thought to do or not do before, because you felt like it made you look like a bad parent. That's such a thing. You stated it perfectly, that we make it about us. Mhm.
Well, if somebody is listening to the episode and they're on the fence about starting counseling or treatment or brain healing, what suggestion might you give them if they're interested or potentially interested in reaching out?
Oh my gosh, I think everyone should be interested in all of those things, but I think just explore it. It's different. It's an alternative, and we offer that. We don't pressure anyone. But I do like people to know they have options. If you go to the doctor, they're likely to prescribe you something for whatever is ailing you. We're not going to do that. We can do something that is natural, that is painless, that is effective. And yes, it takes multiple sessions, but the upside is you kind of get a friend out of it, because if I'm not counseling you, I'm seeing you on a regular basis, and we do get to know each other really well, and it becomes a really pleasant experience on all the way around. It's social, and it's also a self-care tool. So my website has lots of information. I take phone calls as often as I can to just chat with you before you make a decision whether you want to make an appointment, answer your questions, direct you to other resources, or tell you about my experiences. I have no problem doing free consultations. I've had people that just want to come in and see our space and meet us in person and just kind of get a feel for it, because it can sound scary to begin with. So I'll do whatever to make somebody feel comfortable, but I'm not pressuring anyone either. It's always, the choice of the client, whether they feel it's for them or not. But I highly recommend it because I have seen it work so incredibly well for everyone. So, and if you've done all the things already and nothing's really gotten you where you want to be, what's the harm in trying something different, and seeing what happens? So,
Absolutely. I like that you're bringing all of the different pieces together. There is the physical side, there is the emotional side, there is the trauma aspect of it, and looking at all of those different pieces together really helps to pinpoint those things, especially if you've kind of done a deep dive on one aspect and you go, okay, I feel like maybe I've gone as far as I am able to in that one side, right? So now let me try kind of attacking it from another direction and see what I learn about the other side from that. I think it's just an amazing thing to have all of those tools kind of all at your disposal there at the Mind Connection. So wonderful, wonderful thing. And you've got a whole team there then doing different services. Are you the only one offering counseling or okay, and your
just me,
daughter?
my daughter, and we handle it all. She does everything I do, except she really isn't fond of counseling. So she avoids that, but she does do brain spotting and she does the microcurrent neurofeedback. She's in charge of our natural health store, and that's in our waiting room. And so she has some other duties, but we do it all, and it's just the two of us. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful mother-daughter relationship and story. And the idea that we can accept our children, our grown-up children, as their own adults, and we can have a completely different relationship with them. And I think as we, there is kind of this current trend we're seeing with some of our adult clients where there's kind of a distance between parents and children and adult children. And I think a part of that is just, we're not always aware of how to make that transition. And that transition has to occur in order to get to that other side where now we can be friends and interact as adults. And so what ends up happening is that those childhood relationships can kind of continue in where they're not appropriate anymore. So I think that you're doing such a great job of modeling that, because so many people would go, work with my adult child, no way, or like work with my mom, no way. But you and your daughter have put in the work as you were transitioning that relationship to be able to have that healthy relationship as adults working together. I think that's such a beautiful example.
Thank you. Yes, this is a lot of work to get here and a lot of self-realization that she didn't need a mom at a certain point in her recovery. She needed me to be on her level or her to be on my level so that we could put the pieces together of our experiences. And you can read about that all in the book. There's a lot there, but like just to be able to have those conversations as person to person, not mom to daughter. She didn't need that. She needed me to be real and vulnerable with her and on her level. And that's where we started once we were in recovery, and that's where we've stayed. We very much relate to each other, adult to adult. And I respect her as an adult. She is independent. She is smart. She will figure it out, but I'm her friend and I support her and love her just like a friend would, and also like a mom does, but I don't tell her what to do, and I really 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 try not to give her advice if she doesn't ask for it. So that's don't do that. They don't like it. Um so yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, that's wonderful. That is such a beautiful example. I love it. I love that. So, if you're listening and you are in Houston, Texas, and you're interested in getting started and learning about brain spotting, learning about the neurofeedback, go ahead and visit them at the Mind Connection. We will post the websites, but it is www.tncbrainhealthcenter.com. We will post that. Also, you can go to www.ourbeautifulrecovery.com to learn more about just about Janelle's story. Yeah, and losing her, finding us, and the Losing Her, Finding Us book is available on Amazon. You can find that online, and I love that it has a butterfly on the cover. If you're watching it on video, there are a lot of butterflies in the background there in your office as well. And just always a beautiful metaphor for that change and that transformation that you've both made together. So wonderful, wonderful resources. We'll also post all of the links on how to find you on social media.
I'm Janelle Martin, and I need a counselor.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. And I'm Krista Hunt.
And I'm Julie Johnson, and we need a counselor.
And so do you.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the You Need a Counselor podcast. We are so grateful that you're here. You can also find and connect with You Need a Counselor on Facebook and Instagram. If you've enjoyed today's show, please take a moment to like, review, or leave a comment, as all of these things help others to find and benefit from the podcast as well. If you're in the state of Iowa and interested in mental health counseling or behavioral health intervention services, give us